One of the next samples that we have is what's called an outward corner. So you can see that this corner points outward. This you would see at a corner of like a collar on a shirt. If you look at a man's dress shirt or a woman's blouse, you would see this corner that's at an angle. Again, if you have some difficulty in navigating seam lines still, you could mark this with a with your ruler and the marker. I'm going to pin this together in a couple of different spots to make it not slide around on me. And you want to make sure that you're putting right sides together. Wrong side is the side you're going to stitch on here. And I'm going to use that little purple pen and a marker to show you a nice easy way. Again, we're doing a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm just going to mark my corner here because I want to make sure that it's pretty accurate. You'll find when you start creating clothing, accuracy is pretty important to get a final result that looks really good. So there's nothing wrong with marking things to make sure that you're accurate. You can go all the way across if you want. I just usually mark my corners. So here it's a 1/4 inch. Turn it 1/4 inch over here. And now I know where my corner is. Most of the time though, because I've been sewing for so many years, I would just put a little dot like that at the corner. And I know that that's where I want my needle to stop so that I can turn and sew that sample. Okay, so we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam. So here's our 1/4 inch line again. Usually the 1/4 inch line, if you have this type of a presser foot on, you'll see that it lines up with the presser foot. I'm going to back tack here at the beginning, and I'm going to come forward, and I'm going to try to stop my needle right at that point. So one more stitch. And then I'm going to flip, turn it, and I'm going to come across the other side. Try to go as straight as you can, because this is going to be a collar, and if it's all wiggly, it looks wiggly when you get done. I think I need one more stitch. There we go. Turn it, and come to the other end. So don't go all the way around, because you got to be able to turn this. This part would be where the collar would attach to the collar band on a shirt. So it's got to be left open. And then trim your threads. Now, one thing that we have to do when we're going to turn this right side out, if I was to try to turn this, and I've got this fabric going this way and this fabric going up, you'll see that you have a lot of fabric here, a lot of excess fabric. We don't want to stuff that down in the corner of our collar. It would be very bumpy looking, and we want it to be really smooth. So we're going to cut off an angle there, and you can cut it at 45 degrees, but I find if you come back just a little bit more and take a little bit more going in that direction, you're not going to be shoving a lot of fabric up into your corner, but make sure that you don't cut through your stitching. So my stitching is, there's a little bit of fabric left there. And then do the same thing on this corner. You're going to cut this corner off. If you accidentally cut through your threads, just sew another little seam next to it and come around. Sometimes that happens when we're learning how to do this. And then we're going to turn it right side out, and we're going to press it. So this is going to take a bit of navigating, trying to get this to stay open and not wind up like a lot of times I'll see students do this and they've pressed it and it kind of looks like that. They didn't push the fabric out. So when you're pressing, you've got to push fabric out. Do not take your scissors and jam them up into the corner like this to get that corner out, because you will cut the fabric. You probably won't have a tool for turning at this point, so sometimes what I do is you can take a straight pin and you can stick it down in there and kind of work your fabric till it comes out. But I'm going to show you a little tool at the ironing board that is what you would normally use to push out the corners and to push these edges nice and flat. So here's what is a little tool for a number of different things, but we're going to use it for pushing out the shape of our little collar here. So you can take this little pointy end and just kind of poke it down in there and work your fabric until you get that fabric to come out and make a little point. Oops, I poked it a little too hard. So be careful that you don't, shove the seam allowance back through what you're poking. And to press it, if I just try to press it and I get it like this right here, that's not going to look very good. So what I'm going to do is I use this tool, and it's a heat resistant tool. I can push up under my fabric and I can really push it out to try and get that as flat and even as I can, and that allowed me to get that out there. And the same thing on the other side, I'm able to take this and push that seam out. Let's turn it back and try to get that corner to not be poked out so hard. There we go. Okay. We're going to push it, try to get the nicest corner that we can get without really pushing it too hard. And I'm going to flatten that out. Sometimes if your piece is big enough, you can actually press the seam allowances inside like this with the iron first, so that you don't wind up with a little wrinkle at that point, and then you're able to lay it down and sort of manipulate it till you get it nice and even, and then just press the whole thing. And once you're done with this particular sample, you're going to mark it that it's outward corner. These are outward corners. And take a photograph of both sides so that I can see that you've, got to really see how nice and crisp that edge is from front to back. I don't have like a thing going on where it looks like this because I didn't get it opened all the way. You want that opened all the way. So that's your outward corner.